Welcome back. Welcome back. Last time we had a shortish introduction to the internet and about how those of us who are scholars, either we're scholars in the making or we're students or we're academics, but we use the internet as a tool for our work, not a toy for us to just play in. It's something that we use during the day when we're in work mode, not just in the evenings and the weekends when we're relaxing. How do we do that? What are some of the specific corners of the Google ecosystem that we need to be familiar with? I talked about websites like academia.edu and about how we can use Kindle books to access recently published books that haven't arrived in the library that we might want to use when we are writing a dissertation. We want to demonstrate to our supervisors that we are reading recently published stuff that will also impress our examiners. So that was the internet. And today we're going to be talking about something which may seem, oh my goodness, tell me something new. You may be thinking, why are you telling me things that I already know? So let's just remind ourselves about what PDFs are and about why they're important and about how to use them. What programs can we use? What are the options? And what are the reasons for us using ones that are perhaps ones we have to buy but have functions that will really make our job a lot easier? So, PDFs. PDFs are by far the most common format that electronic books are distributed in. There are a number of other formats, including EPUB, which I don't have and don't distribute that often, but PDFs are very, very important. So, in my opinion, I don't think it's a particularly good idea for people who are serious readers of electronic books, as I am, and which I hope that you will be at the end of this course. There are a number of reasons why I don't think you should use the Reader. Adobe Acrobat Reader is the free PDF reading application of Adobe, which is a big computer system, a big computer company. I think that you should all consider finding a way of getting a version of Adobe Acrobat Pro installed on your system. There are all sorts of ways that you can do that, and I'm sure that you can do the research about whether you buy one or whether you use a trial version, and there are also other ways of you accessing this program. And the most important reasons for me suggesting that you seriously consider using Adobe Acrobat Pro is that it has a number of advanced highlighting features. Remember how we talked about the similarities between a virtual library and a physical library? Remember how we talked about in the old days, if you have your own collection of books, you have them in bookshelves and you know where they are. You know that this topic is on that shelf and that topic is on the other, and you know if you go to the library at Thammasat, you know where the books that you use often, which part of the library that they're in. If you have your own book, you also can pick up a book and you can open it, and with a pen, you can get a pen, and you may make notes in the margins. You may underline. You may use a highlighting pen. It may be a pen. It may be a pencil. But this is a way of you reminding yourself. In the future, you're going to be reading this book. You're going to be reading this article. You need to find a way of reminding yourself what the most important parts of the article were for you. Now, there are ways of doing that with an ordinary book, with a printed out article, and there are all sorts of ways of doing that with Adobe Acrobat Pro. Please get to grips. Please become familiar with all of the tools that Adobe provides you to mark and highlight these PDFs. You can also annotate them. You can make comments. What a great summary of the advantages of participant observation might be one comment that you make to a paragraph in a book. And but the most important thing that you can do with Adobe Acrobat Pro is that you can extract, you can export certain pages. And for example, you may have a dictionary, and on the Google Drive, once you have a look around the Google Drive, you'll see that there are a number of reference works. You're able to download those. With Adobe Acrobat Pro, you're able to extract the articles that are really, really helpful for you, things that you can't do with the free Adobe Reader. You can also export the entire PDF into a number of formats. You can format it as a text. You can format it in a number of formats, RTF or Word document, just a text document, so you can export the whole thing. You don't just copy and paste, but you export everything, which keeps the formatting, which allows a number of ways of you interacting, making notes, copying sections into your drafts. Very, very powerful tools. You can also export images. There may be maps, there may be tables on PDFs, and you can export a page, and then you can extract that page to a new PDF, and then you can save it as a TIFF file, as a JPEG file, which will allow it to have resolution that you can use when you are writing your papers and your dissertations. So a very, very powerful way. Export it as a TIFF first, and then in Photoshop, export the TIFF as a JPEG. That way you will get a high quality image. This will be a far better quality image than taking a screen capture. If you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, no problem. But if you're writing a paper, you need to export an image that is of good enough quality for you to print off. You can also export PDFs as MP3s, and I will teach you how to do that. As I mentioned before, this is something that I have provided for some of the reading which I am going to be strongly encouraging people who take these e-courses to engage with. It is not a substitute for reading, but it is a way that you can help increase the speed and the comfort and the enjoyment of reading English. So that is the lecture on PDFs, and our next lecture is going to be about this amazing program called EndNote, which has changed my life and will change yours if you use it. But before we do that, why don't I say goodbye, and we'll see each other soon. Thanks again.